At the Atomic Energy Commission research establishment, Lucas Heights, New South Wales, Australia's first atomic reactor is completed. At the opening, Mr. Menzies has this to say.
But in Australia, we will still have room for power from coal, power from water, and now power from nuclear reaction. All of these things make us, if we look at it in the right way, rather a rich country.
A crowd of 1,000 watched the Prime Minister perform the opening ceremony. The Chief Scientist, Mr. Watson Munro, escorts the Prime Minister on a tour of inspection of the £6 million establishment. In the control room, he sees the reactor's nerve centre and the elaborate safety precautions, including an emergency button that's labelled SCRAM. Mr. Menzies presses another button which shuts down the reactor. The Prime Minister confessed he was abysmally ignorant of what goes on inside. Frankly, who isn't? The reactor isn't designed to produce atomic power. It does produce radiation, and by exposing materials to this radiation, it will produce such things as radioactive isotopes for use in medicine, science, and industry. Australia takes a bold step forward into the atomic age. Parramatta Jail is on the alert as notorious escapee Darcy Dugan is reported missing. He's escaped from custody 4 times, and as the alarm sounds, warders are reinforced and all police leave stopped. Trucks are searched as they leave the jail, for police are certain Dugan is still inside the prison walls. But with 5 acres of grounds to search, more and more police are called in. Dugan's been missing for 8 hours and darkness is approaching. Detectives under Detective Sergeant Ray Kelly are prodding the grounds with crowbars in an inch-by-inch search. And at 6:30, the search is successful. Detective Hemming of Parramatta found Darcy Dugan hiding under a shed, and he's taken to Long Bay. This is the man who has escaped from custody 4 times and has made many unsuccessful attempts. Again, he's failed, thanks to the New South Wales Police. Darcy Dugan, the 37-year-old criminal, serving a life sentence for attempted murder, is still behind iron bars. He has a debt to pay to society, and police are determined he'll pay that debt in full. Four people died when this light plane crashed into the Dandenong Mountains, Victoria. A Catholic priest was piloting the aircraft on a sightseeing trip from Moorabbin Airport when the plane dived into the mountainside in heavy rain. The crash is the first of 3 in 48 hours. The second near Rockhampton, Queensland, and the third near Lae, New Guinea. 11 people are killed. Police and Civil Aviation Department authorities begin on-the-spot investigations with Aero Club officials. In less than 2 days, 3 planes have plunged to Earth, claiming the lives of 8 men. The liner Ausober arrives in Fremantle with 300 British migrants aboard, sponsored by Rotary. The migrants will be going to all states. The Governor of Western Australia, Sir Charles Gardner, goes aboard to give them a vice-regal welcome to the land they've decided to adopt as their own. Some have criticised Australia's migration program, but with new Australians like these arriving, even the fiercest critics are silenced. From Yorkshire to Western Australia, Mr. and Mrs. George Bell and the Bell twins, Amanda and Neil. Bound for Victoria, Mr. and Mrs. Burgess and Rochelle from Essex. And from Middlesex, George Allen and his wife, who plan to make their home in Sydney. British migrants who seem to be as happy to be here as we are to have them. Rotary has entered the Bring Out of Britain campaign in a big way, and here's the result. A crowd of more than 3,500 packs a meeting in Sydney Domain to hear Hobart Waterside workers Frank and Dennis Hersey. The heckling begins as soon as Frank Hersey starts to speak about victimisation because he's refused to pay a levy for Labour Party funds. Hobart Wharfies won't let Hersey and his son work on the wharves. Some give him a great reception in Sydney, but others keep up a rapid fire of interjections. Police move closer to the platform as the meeting becomes noisier, but there aren't enough police to be everywhere in the crowd, and tempers run high. There are more interjections. And down he goes again. This time, police move in to take him away for his own protection, but he doesn't seem anxious to go. It's one of the noisiest domain meetings ever, and that's saying something. But despite jeers and abuse, the Herseys have made a lot of friends in Sydney. Hobart wharves simmer with excitement as Frank and Dennis Hersey again report for work. The Herseys, who have refused to pay a levy to the Labour Party, are members of the DLP. Police stand by in case of demonstrations. For weeks, wharf labourers have refused to allow the Herseys to work. Now they have a court order, but the Watersiders won't work with them. Frank Hersey is buying this 5-room bungalow from the State Housing Department. A stone has smashed one of the windows. 11 members of the Hersey family have lived here since last year, but now, because both men cannot get work, they owe £53 on it and have received an eviction notice. Day and night, when they're rostered, Frank and Dennis Hersey report for work on the wharves. They're willing to pay their union dues, but won't pay the political levy on principle. Men rostered to work in the same gangs walk off. The port is disrupted. The union won't compromise, neither will the Herseys, so the Cold War on Hobart's wharves continues. Carnival time in Hobart for the city's 120th anniversary regatta. All the fun's not on the water either. There are Ferris wheels, drinks and ice cream, merry-go-rounds and sideshows. What a day it is, the biggest and best regatta day in more than a century. Another highlight for the record-breaking crowd of 41,000 is the presence of the British Prime Minister, Mr. Macmillan, and Lady Dorothy. And the visitors certainly see the Derwent at its sparkling best. Then the regatta itself, with literally scores of yachts of all sizes and classes. It's a spectacle that only Hobart can provide, as Tasmania celebrates its national birthday. At Bondi Beach, we have a welcome visitor, Duke Kahanamoku, here again after an absence of more years than he cares to remember. Last time he came to Australia, he introduced the surfboard to this country from his native Hawaii. So now, with an Australian expert, he discusses the progress boards have made. They're certainly getting lighter, slicker, and more streamlined every year. What's this? They've even got rudders now. Unnecessary in the long, comparatively gentle Waikiki rollers, Duke, but just right for Bondi. What about having a try yourself? Well, between us, I agree with you. It's far too cold. So let's watch a youngster, shall we? And think how much pleasure the sport you introduced has brought to countless Australians. The King's Hall Parliament House is the scene of a brilliant state ball, with the Governor-General, Sir William Slim and Lady Slim, 2 of 1,000 distinguished guests. The Queen Mother is welcomed by the Prime Minister and Dame Patty Menzies. Her Majesty, a dazzling figure in a Hartnell crinoline dress of white silk tulle embroidered with scrolls of tiny lace. Her jewels, which blaze under the arc lights, include a diamond tiara and necklace of rubies and diamonds. Inside King's Hall itself, Her Majesty walks to a flower-decked royal enclosure through a long aisle of guests, among them 300 members of Federal Parliament and their wives. It's one of the most glittering social events ever in Canberra, and the guest of honour charms all who see her. With the Minister for Labour, Mr. Holt, the Queen Mother dances the first dance of the ball. Later, Her Majesty was on her feet again for the second dance, a gesture appreciated by everyone at the ball. Canberra's State Ball couldn't help being such a brilliant success. Hey, what are the brooms for, fellas? Scared the train wheels will get a bit grubby? Blimey, I'm dead right. There's a plague of the creepy crawlies. There are big fat caterpillars and little kitten pillars, and they're awfully squashy under train wheels. They have to be swept off, otherwise the train suffers squashed caterpillar traction. And on an uphill grade, that means no go. Watch this one in the grip of the grubs. Don't worry, folks, it's only Victoria's caterpillar army marching on its stomach. We'll get those sweepers back on the sleepers, and you'll be off again in no time at all. Greasing the wheels of progress is one thing, rubbing the wheels of the spirit of progress is another. You caterpillars will give train drivers butterflies in the stomach. Miss Norma Sykes, better known as Sabrina, arrives at Kingsford Smith Airport from Hollywood, where she's been discussing film contracts. Meanwhile, Sydney's been discussing Sabrina, and inside the airport terminal, press and newsreel men photograph and interview her. Australians have seen the world's shapeliest blonde in J. Arthur Rank pictures, but this is the real thing. In case you've forgotten, the vital statistics are 41.5, 1835. She's in Sydney for an hour, and then her plane takes off for Melbourne. The crowd is still there to see her leave, most of them suffering severe eye strain. There's another big welcome in Melbourne, and Sabrina is reunited with her mother, who somehow lost her in Rome. Fancy anyone losing Sabrina.
The Queen's designer, Norman Hartnell, shows new season styles in Sydney. This is Mauve Moment, violet chiffon from Hartnell's English collection, and here is After Dark, black velvet allied with a peacock-lined skirt in lattice taffeta. The stole, too, is velvet with matching taffeta lining. Candy is typical of the dresses Hartnell makes for theatrical stars, hand-embroidered with soft satin chips. Court Circle is a ball gown of pale aquamarine satin, golden embroidery on the fabulous skirt. This one, Empire, is part of the Australian collection. And there's the man himself, Norman Hartnell. Gildan Lily, modelled by Diane Masters, is a formal ball gown of white Duchess satin, re-embroidered with yellow diamonds and pearls on yellow lace. This one is called Cleo, a slinky sheath of black fishnet with thousands of sequins. Hartnell's worried. He has to choose a model for a model quest, but he selects one at last. Lorraine Cherry, who wins a trip to England and a month's trial on Hartnell's staff. Cherry is a real peach.
Lots of school children bank their pocket money instead of buying yo-yos. But the girls at Dover Heights Home Science School, Sydney, go a step further. When lessons are over and the bank is open for business, guess who collects the cash? That's right. The girls run the bank themselves, with their own tellers, examiners, clerks, and auditors. That's one way of making sure teacher's pet isn't the only one who can get an overdraft. It's an efficient service, a branch of the Commonwealth Bank with not a man on the staff. Makes you think, doesn't it? That sign means what it says. 1,493 homes are to be fumigated because borers have been detected in imported timber used in pre-cut homes near Brisbane. The Queensland Housing Commission arranges temporary accommodation for the displaced people who take all their furniture, and not, of course, forgetting Pretty Polly. What would a whiff of methyl bromide do to her? Only the imported timber is affected, but Australia's own softwood industry is threatened, so entire houses are covered with plastic and the coverings are made completely airtight. Then methyl bromide gas is pumped in, a gas that penetrates everything. Poor old Hylothropes bajulus, the European house borer to you, is in for a rude shock. With this gas, one whiff and you're stiff. The experts haven't missed a trick, and no house is too small. The little hut, not for general exhibition at the moment. Queensland gets rid of borers in a big way before Australia's softwood plantations can be... Youngsters love ice skating, but the youngsters putting on these skates are different. They can't see the ice. They're blind. These children are from the Wurrunga School for the Blind. Some of 40 who go to the Five Dock Ice Skating Club and prove that courage and the will to win can conquer any disability. The instructors give their time free, and who wouldn't when the reward is the happiness of kids whose life is always nighttime. Despite their handicap, the children learn just as quickly as pupils with full sight. Though they can't see, some of these youngsters become expert figure skaters, feeling the thrill, but never seeing the graceful movements. Of course they fall, everyone does, but they don't want pity. They want to strike out for themselves, to stand on their own feet, and youngsters who can conquer the despair of blindness do. Brabham is ready for the start of the Melbourne Grand Prix. He is driving a Cooper Climax. And so is Sterling Moss, who already this year has won the Argentine, Dutch, Portuguese and Moroccan Grand Prix. A crowd of 120,000 lines the Albert Park circuit, and the finalists are off on the 100-mile race for £840 in prize money. Whiteford and Mildred roar around Jaguar Corner at nearly 100 miles an hour. There's Sterling Moss in the lead already. There are 32 laps, but despite the terrific speed and the dangerous corners, there is only one casualty. There's brilliant driving here today, but no matter how fast the others go, they can't catch Moss. He does this lap at an average of 102 miles an hour. The field is a lap behind as Moss roars to the finish, half a minute ahead of Jack Brabham. He averaged 98.6 miles an hour, won 300 pounds, and goes by helicopter to Essendon immediately to catch a plane for the United States. Sterling Moss, a speed star who's always in a hurry. At North Sydney Olympic Pool, Lorraine Crapp in lane 3 and Dutch star Cocky Gastelaz in lane 4 meet in the 110 yards freestyle. It's a thriller all the way, with the Australian Olympic star ahead with less than 30 yards to go. The Dutch girl second and Sandra Morgan just behind them. Lorraine is still ahead, but Miss Gastelaz is swimming strongly and there are only inches separating them. And watch this finish. It's Lorraine Crapp first with the Dutch star only a foot away. Lorraine's a great champion, a triple Olympic gold medalist. Cocky Gastelaz is a star too, but here is Australia's newest swimming sensation. Keep your eyes on the girl in lane 3. 13-year-old Ilse Conrad's competing in the state 880 yards championship. She's swimming so easily, it's hard to realize that she's going to topple 2 world records. Ilse touches and turns just ahead of Dutch distance star Corrie Schimmel. It's close at the moment, but not one of her opponents can keep up with the child champion's display of sustained pressure. Ilse starting to draw away now, though she still seems as relaxed as in a training swim. And she's on the way to smashing Lorraine Crapp's world records for the 880 and the 800 meters by 17 seconds. A 13-year-old who's already a sensation. 5 years ago, Ilse could just paddle, and look at her now. Turning for the last lap, some 10 or 15 yards ahead of Corrie Schimmel. And watch this final killing length of the pool as she thrashes the water and literally streaks away. Don't worry about that other girl, Ilse. She's still got 2 laps to go, and you're at the end of the fastest half mile any woman in the world has ever swum.
Melbourne Cup Day 1958, and what a crowd. Some of the men wear top hats and the ladies wear millinery of every description. So while the he-men bag yay man looks to look them over because there's a dream, son. You know there's more veiling than Sir Blink in that one. She's keeping the pandy sun out of her eyes. You'd need to break the bank at Monte Carlo to pay for the fashions today, so here's hoping the punters find picking the winner a pushover. But the horses are going out now for the start of Australia's greatest race. That's Monte Carlo, number 2. And number 19 is the outsider, Ortweel. Monte Carlo and a hot favourite, Yay Man, are the idols at this moment. But the entire parade comes in for their fair share of admiration, and the air's electric as they're ready for the starts. They're racing in the Cup. Prince Darius hampered badly at the start. Dream Sun and Doddy were amongst the best to begin from Humber Hawk and Cole. Then Soul Gleam and New Stone, Mac and Star Aim were well placed, and the horses were crowding from the outside, with White Hills, Alpensia and Baystone showing up. The lightly weighted Star Aim had taken over to lead as they settle fully into stride, from Sir Blink pulling hard. Then Mac and White Hills, followed by Alpensia, moving into a forward place. Newstone and Pandy Sun are next, followed by Cole, Red Pine. Then Monte Carlo, Gold Craze, Humber Hawk, Pushover. A good gap then to rise again, followed by Baystone, Gazette and Asian Court. And Doddy and Prince Darius at the rear of the field. travelling to the winning post on the first occasion, and Star Aim had been headed off by the 1,000-to-1 chance Alpensia, who showed the way as they made the run to the turn out of the straight towards the riverside, from White Hills pulling hard, then Sir Blink, Pandy Sun, Mac Pushover, Red Pine, Newstone, Monte Carlo, at the head of the others Coal, Mineral Sands, Humber Hawk, then Gold Craze, Yay Man and Storm Warning, with Prince Darius still at the rear of the field together with Baystone. Near the 7 and Alpensia had established a big lead over White Hills and Sir Blink. Star Aim was commencing to weaken. Pandy Sun and Mac were going great guns from Pushover. Then Red Pine, Newstone, Monte Carlo, at the head of the others Coal and Mineral Sands, but Alpensia was so far in front he was out of the camera's range near the half mile, but he led well from White Hills. Then Rise Again, Sir Blink, Pandy Sun, Pushover, at the head of the others Doherty, Monte Carlo, in behind them Humber Hawk from Baystone coming into the picture, and then Red Pine under gap to Gold Craze, thundering around the turn in the cup, and Alpensia was almost done with, where shortly after White Hills had challenged, but shortly after McGrowdy on White Hills had gone for the whip, when Red Pine, Monte Carlo and Baystone were putting in their claims, and at the distance a mammoth duel is taking place, with Baystone starting to get the upper hand from Monte Carlo and Red Pine, and Baystone going as straight as a gun barrel for the line, is doing far the better, and kept going with a whip. Baystone is coming away from Monte Carlo and Red Pine, and it looks like Baystone's cut. Baystone coming away in the run of the judge, wins it well. Baystone first, Monte Carlo, and then Red Pine. Yes, it's a great win for the Sydney side of Baystone, and the huge crowd give vent to their feelings as the winner parades under the roses. The shoe is proud as Baystone is led back, and who was it said that number 7 Saddlecloth is a jinx in the Melbourne Cup? £15,000 in cash was first prize, and Baystone goes down in history as winner of the Melbourne Cup of 1958.